All right. Hey, here we are. Well, it's almost that time. So we finished one class. Most of you were here for the first class. Yes. Some of you weren't here for that class. That's okay. So we're just going to be talking about showing the similarities and differences between doing a DocuSign transaction and doing a AuthentiSign transaction. AuthentiSign is free. That comes with your zipForm account, whereas DocuSign, you have to pay for that service in order to take advantage of it. So for those who have not attended my first class, this is who I am. Oh, and by the way, I'm recording this class as well, just like we recorded the first class. This class is being recorded, so that way we can email you a copy of this by tomorrow. We're not going to be able to do so tonight because I'll be teaching classes all the way up until almost 5 p.m. today. We close at 5. So this is me, Leo Luera. I'm with the Orange County Realtors. I've been with the board since 2007. Started off with membership, progressed becoming to the super key specialist. Still on the super key specialist, but now I'm also training classes with Anthony and have been doing it for a number of years. We've hit a number of different topics like zipForms, some membership topics, as well as super. So it's we used to do more live classes before the pandemic, but now we're doing more webinars, and this is one of the rarer situations where we get to have a live class here in Fountain Valley. So today's agenda, I'm just going to show the additional signing process with DocuSign, additional signing process with AuthentiSign. This is really a straightforward class. We'll discuss the similarities and differences and have Q&A at the very end. The class is scheduled for 2 hours, but I don't think we're going to hit the 2-hour mark on this one. So just give you a heads up on this. So I'm going to get started with setting up, going into DocuSign. So those of you who have not done a DocuSign, have never used DocuSign, which is okay. Just take notes and enjoy it. Let me close this up. Close this up. There we go. So the first session will be going into zipForms, logging into zipForms, and moving this somewhere. It's not in the way. There we go. All right, where's my zipForms? Okay. I hope everyone had a chance to get something to eat, or maybe get something to relax outside because the weather's pretty nice out there. It really is. I'm really happy about being in this area so close to the beach because we get that offshore breeze. I live further inland where I don't get to take advantage of the offshore breeze at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Okay, so I'm going to go into my profile, click profile and settings, because I'm going to choose a different signing service. So I go into settings, and for this first session, I'm going to use DocuSign. If you have not set up a DocuSign account, it's a paid service. You have to go through DocuSign to pay for this. For the equivalent of what you get with AuthentiSign, it's roughly $240 a year. So once you set up a DocuSign account, you can link it. I'm already linked. So, and you see it here. It'll behave very similar to AuthentiSign, which I'll show you in just a moment. And Digital Ink 2.0, just letting you know it's going to go away soon. So you may not want to spend any time practicing with a Digital Ink 2.0. All right. So I saved the transaction. So in the first class, we set up a fictitious transaction. My client is Charlene Client. She's buying a home within walking distance from here. So that's awesome because, that way Leo can go take a break over her at her house during lunchtime. Let's make sure Charlene, I'm going to add her as a buyer. Now this whole class is on the assumption that your client is comfortable using digital signatures. Your client has a computer that they can access. The client also has access to an email because they'll be receiving the email invitation to do the AuthentiSign or DocuSign. So if none of that is true, then you can fill out all the documents that you wish, print it out, or fax it to the client, and have them complete it that way. But this whole process is dependent on your client being comfortable with this digital signature stuff. Oh, by the way, I use Charlene's information. I put it in my address book, so I keep pulling it up time and time again to practice with. If this was a trust or an LLC, you're going to put the individual who's going to sign on behalf of it right over here. And after you're putting it there, you click Save. So this is the listing agent, which, you know what, I'm just going to remove right now because I don't need more clutter. I'm only going to focus on my side of the transaction. Charlene and myself. So documents, there's lots of documents in there that I've already loaded because I showed in the last class how to use a template. We populated with all these forms here. And now I want to sign it. Now there's multiple places to sign the transaction, start the process. You can either click here for e-sign, or you can go on the far left for e-sign. It doesn't matter. But once you click e-sign, then it pops up to another screen, another field, another page. And you see that there's nothing there. We haven't sent any practice with any sessions. Oh, before I do that, let me just check one more thing. Go into documents. There's one thing that's missing. When I teach a class, and just like Anthony, when I teach a class, I like to make sure I add a folder for signed documents, because I want all my documents to be in this folder that have been signed and not cluttered up with the other documents. And we'll choose that in just a moment. So we have signed document folder right there. And now I can begin the process of e-signing. So I click e-sign. Nothing there. I click new. I'm going to choose the forms that I want to send out for signatures to my client. So in this practice session, we'll do the California Residential Purchase Agreement and a fictitious document that we've added to this transaction called Listing Form B. It's just fictitious. If you need to add more documents that's from your hard drive onto this, that your broker has said, I need these documents to be included with this particular transaction, you can be able to do so. But we're not going to be able to do that, so we're just going to click close. So now in our transaction that we're going to send out for signatures will be this one, the RPA, Residential Purchase Agreement, and this fictitious document. We're using DocuSign. And you could rename this whatever you want to, but I'm going to call this DocuSign session so that we can be able to see it when it comes back. But you don't have to change the name of it if you don't want to. Now, if you had more than one buyer or more than one seller in the transaction, you would click all the individuals involved. But it's going to keep it really easy and show you how the signing session works with just one signer. Let me click close. So one signer. If you notice any errors here, you have a chance to correct it, like clicking this pencil. When you click the pencil, you can update that information, but it's only going to update it in this field here and not within the transaction itself. But so just that's why it's important to make sure you review it one last time, make sure it's okay. If you have too many signers, then you can always click the trash can button and get rid of them. But Charlene's our person. We're going to send it out for signatures. We've already confirmed with Charlene it's okay to send out for signatures. So the next step, we've chosen the documents. We've chosen the parties involved. Now DocuSign is going to populate the information onto the screen. So on this screen, you're going to see with high-speed internet that we have. Okay, so on one side will be the tools that we can use to take care of this transaction that needs to be sent out. This is the document itself, and on the far right will be the pages. So if we scroll down, and you're going to go line by line, and first stop is this one right here. So you see that this area has already been highlighted by the California Association of Realtors legal department, that this will automatically be signed by your client, and it'll be auto dated as well. So in other words, those using DocuSign in the past, you had to drag and drop all your signature fields, initials, etc. This is already done for you, but it's not 100% correct, because if you remember, Charlene is a client. Charlene client is a buyer, and notice none of this has been checkmarked. So this should have been checkmarked in the original when we're reviewing the document, but if we skipped it, that's okay. We can all just go down here. Try to do it backwards. I'm trying to be fancy here. Let's see, checkbox, and I'll put it right there. So I can drag a checkbox there, and I can adjust it as well if I wanted to. But as we review the document, we're going to make sure that every page is A-OK. So more than 95% of the time, it's going to be correct. It's going to be highlighted for the client to sign. See, information has been populated here. Now, the last thing I want to go to will be the last page, that listing agreement form B. So this is the fake document that I've included with the transaction. So rather than turning into, I can't really twist myself like a chameleon or whatever the other animal it is in the world that does this kind of stuff, owl's head, I am going to find my date. Let me find the date here. I'll move this out of the way. Go back up. There we go, date signed. Put it right up there. And then I'm going to scroll down. Now I can, let's say I need to put a signature here. Let's see, signature right there. Person's name right here. What else can we drag? How about this? Put this on text. We can write down whatever we want in that field. Let's see, either we could have the client fill it out, or we could put in a read-only field, and I'll put in Fountain Valley. Please, go ahead.
How can I put the information of my client in the system? It stays forever, because some of my clients are working with me for years. Time I have to enter the email and the other information. I don't know how to do that.
That would be in the context. Let me open up a side window. Let me finish up this session first, and then I'll show you how to do it in context. Okay, so if we're satisfied with everything that we've loaded onto this transaction, all the pages you've checked to make sure that yes, they are correctly highlighted where the client has to sign an initial, etc. Then the next step would be to click this button up here where it says close. So I'm going to click close. That's not right. Yeah, close. Nope, I don't want to hit close. Why am I going to hit close? Because I want to close the transaction, but I don't want to close it right now because I have to send it out to the client. So I send it in the bottom right corner. Now DocuSign is compiling it, and then you're going to see the screen, and it's going to send an email out request to our client, Charlene client. Now Charlene's going to receive an email, which I'll show you in just a moment what it's going to look like, and we can be able to have her start that process. So your question began with contacts. We go to contacts on the top. So this is answering the question, how do I put my client's information in the contacts? You click contact, you click contacts. You click new, and then you put the information of that person in there. You could choose a category if they're a buyer or seller if you wanted to. That's pretty much it. You just fill out the information there.
I do the same, but each time is asking me to enter the email, even my information.
Do you use the desktop version of zipForms or the online version of zipForms? Do you log into the CAR website to get into zipForms, or is it just an icon on your computer screen that you just go into?
Sometimes this and sometimes that.
So the desktop version is buggy. I would recommend stop using it because it's going to go away. Because once it breaks, CAR is not going to give you support that you need on it. We recommend going to the online version. So when you store it here in contacts, it'll stay there. So, yeah, and this is stored up in the cloud, so it'll be secure. But great question, though. And this is how I put my fictitious clients in contact, so that way I can always keep pulling Charlene client to do transactions all the time. I keep picking on it all the time. Watch it, there she is. I'm gonna keep beating up my email address. So that's me. Okay, so the next thing we're looking for is Charlene to do a transaction. I mean, to do her part of the job as signing the documents. So this is Charlene's email. Charlene has received an email of Lilaware sent you a document to be signed. So I open it up. I click, if I'm Charlene, I'm clicking the link here, review documents, and really, you want to make sure you communicate to your client that not to sign anything until you go over it with her. Because you want to make sure you do your fiduciary duty to make sure that she understands what she's signing. You don't want to ever be accused of that agent who's being told that, oh yeah, my agent didn't go over anything with me. They just told me to click, 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 click. And I signed something, I don't understand it. So if you take the extra time and go over this, you'll protect yourself. So another important thing is I would say click the electronic signature here. I mean, what their rights are as a Charlene client. So this is it'll be similar to what the end user license agreement that they'll go over. So I would say print this out and keep this available, so that way in case your client has questions about their rights, you have that readily available to answer the questions. But once they're comfortable with this, then they're going to click I agree to use electronic records and signatures. And then they click continue. So the first step would be to go over every page, every line in every page. Because if you notice, if you click start, it skips a bunch of stuff and then goes to the first spot. So I click this, and I click this. The very first time that your client is going to start doing signatures, they have to confirm what signing style they want. Do they want to choose a font that they like? Perhaps, she likes this one. Or perhaps she wants to draw it. It's horrible. Okay, I'm using a mouse. I can't do this. Okay, so you get the idea. Yeah, that's horrible. You can always hit clear. And then, or if she has a signature that she's already is on her computer, she can upload it on here as well. But we're just going to use the suggested style of this one. And she has to adopt and sign on the bottom left corner. So I don't know if you noticed this, but she went from, where'd it go? Where did she sign? Right up there to way down here. See, all this stuff she missed. So it's very important that you go line by line to answer these questions. So she will and you will go over this together and electronically sign it. You're going to see that there's some required fields to initial. There will be another one further down that will be optional. And it'll look a little bit different. See that this required is highlighted blue and it says required initial here. there'll be one coming up that'll be optional. Any day now. And the problem I have with DocuSign is that it really doesn't tell me how far along I'm in this process. It tells me I'm at 19 of 26. Tells me I'm kind of down here. It doesn't tell me how far I'm along with this. Okay, this is optional. So if the client wants to sign it, great. I mean, initial. If the client doesn't want to initial it, then it's kind of a weird thing that you have to explain to your client that then if you don't agree to this, then you just go to the next field. Because if you look, nothing's initialed there, and it'll be shown as a blank space. That is initialed where it was optional as well. So if you forget this spot and say go to the next field to initial or sign, the great thing about DocuSign and AuthentiSign, it'll push it back up to the spot that you have to complete. We're almost done, but it's kind of really hard to find out where we're at in the process. This is that fictitious document there that the client has to sign. Yes, any questions? Not quite, the one we skipped. So there we go. There we go. And I think that's it. Let me click finish. So she could print it out, but it won't have all the signed spots. So if she has a question like, can I print it? Can I download it? Sure, it's not going to have all the signed spots and initial spots that you've done, because you have to wait until you press finish, and then the client and the agent will receive a finalized copy, as long as all parties have signed it.
I had a question.
Yes, please.
I'm going back there a second. It said there were categories for buyer and seller, but is there also a category for agents? Listing, so agent, by agent and transaction coordinator or not?
I've never added one before. I guess suppose we could try that. Let me go ahead and get out of this screen. By the way, this is asking the client if they want to sign up for a DocuSign account. They can, but you could just simply say no thanks, because the client is going to receive a finalized document in just a moment through their email address. But we'll get to your question in just a moment after we get through this. So we go into the email. There is the email sent to Charlene. And sure enough, it is the finalized document. Let's get this out of the way. There we go. There we go. So there is the finalized document. It shows down here, the icons are here. RPA contract and the listing agreement form B. Or they can just simply follow the links if they wanted to get the documents there that way as well. So either way, they could be able to have access to the documents that they've signed. In your email address, you'll get it as well. And it'll also appear in zipForms. So if I dump this email and go into zipForms, go back into the transaction. I forgot to choose the folder to put it in. Shame on Leo, because now it's going to be, oh, wait a minute. Maybe I did choose it. Yeah, I did put it in the right folder. Good. Okay, I'm a happy camper. So these are the finalized documents, because you could tell that there's a PDF, has a DocuSign icon on it. And I'll show you what it looks like quickly. There should be some background music while it's pulling out. Sorry. And you see signatures, checkbox, various other portions have been completed, initials, etc. Of course, that you would complete the form before sending it out to the client. You don't want to have the client sign anything that's blank. There we go. So this part is done. So this will be the information that is already a finalized document. One thing I do want to take a look at would be party summary. There we go. And signed docs are there. Perfect. Okay, Now, before we do the other signing session, you had a question about contacts. So if I click contacts, and if I click new category, I don't see a way to add a category, but I can add this agent. And then, yeah, you put in all the information there. We could do that later. But this is how you would put other agents. So if you're working with a co-listing agent, you can do it. Other contacts, it looks like a transaction coordinator would be there. You put that information in there. Yep. But not in categories. Okay. Anybody with questions before we tackle digital ink? I mean, Authentisign.
Sure. So if you're a listing agent that offers DocuSign, if you're not signed up with DocuSign. Is there any problem with transaction? So, let's say you got an offer and your seller agrees to sign that off without a counter. Perfectly. So can your client sign that, selling agent's offer in DocuSign if you're not a member of DocuSign?
Yes. So whatever digital signing service you choose, that person doesn't have to have that digital signing service at all, because all they're doing is opening email that you've already vetted, opening an email that you already let them know where to sign, initial, etc. They don't have to be have that product on their computer or anything. You could send it to my 82-year-old mom. 82. It's going to be 83 pretty soon. 82-year-old mom, and let's just say she's not computer savvy and doesn't have any of that signing services. Yes, so she doesn't have to have DocuSign and doesn't have to be a realtor. She's my client. So you're fine there.
What about the other agents, the seller agent have got DocuSign, but you as a buyer agent doesn't.
That's the same thing too.
Listen,
Yeah, because if they somebody sends you documents to electronically sign, you don't have to own that product. You don't have to be a DocuSign user. You don't have to be a digital Authentisign user, etc.
Whoever's creating the document.
Yes, they're the one that's sending the documents out to
So-
whoever.
if you want to add some type of disclosure, you can do it in the system which you are comfortable.
Yes, if you're comfortable with using Authentisign or DocuSign, you can. You would just create a new session to send out a signature to go back out to your client or whoever you're sending it to. So that would be fine. The great thing with Authentisign is that it's unlimited. You can keep sending documents to whomever you want to on a daily basis. DocuSign, if you get the unlimited version, it's about $240 a year. You could get the more inexpensive one, but it only allows you X number of signatures through them. So that's one thing. Oh, gosh darn it, I forgot one more thing. I want to change it to Authentisign. Anybody else have a question about DocuSign? So you saw how very straightforward DocuSign is. Any questions about that? Please. It'll show as an inactive session, and then the next day you'll receive an inactive session email, and you'll keep getting notifications for the next 31 days until it drops. Once it drops, then, I mean, you can stop the signing session if you wanted to, but if they're inactive for some reason, like let's say you send it out on a Tuesday, they're busy working Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and they'll get back to you on Saturday. That's fine, as long as somehow you have the ability to correspond with them how to go over the forms without just having to go click, 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 and then get you in trouble. You had a question, sir. Can you share your DocuSign account? Or you want to share the documents or the do you want to share the documents or do you want to share the DocuSign account? That I don't know. Anthony, if you're listening in, do you know if somebody could pay extra to share the DocuSign account? I feel like my
No,
gut is
they do. Well, yes, there is a DocuSign Team edition, but that's even more expensive to have up to, I think, 5 team members, and that is on their website.
oh yeah, you can have a team if you want to pay for the DocuSign service.
Yeah, I think it's like $25 extra per month per user. So not only are you paying your $24 a month, but you're paying for that person's as well.
Oh, well, we're all rich, right? We all drive electric cars, we don't have to worry about gas, right? So
By
yeah,
the way,
it
gas prices went up another 7 cents here in Mission Viejo.
oh, ugh. Yes, that's why I chose, in our listing example, I chose a house within walking distance to us. So we can go over there and have a great time. So this next session, we're going to try Authenticide. I'm going to go into settings and I'm going to choose Authenticide, which is built into zipForms. And one thing I forgot to mention is when you choose Authenticide, it's supposed to come up with specific time zone. It's supposed to. There was one time somebody showed me that it came up as GMT time zone, which is located off of Britain, I believe. So you don't want to do that one if you're taking care of clients here in the Pacific time zone. For those who are not here for the first class, I also recommended that you scroll down just a little bit where you see transaction preferences. When you see transaction preferences, you want to choose a time interval for transactions autosave. I say 5 minutes because by default, when you go into zipForms for the first time, it's off. So you don't want to be in a situation where you type up a bunch of stuff and then all of a sudden a brownout occurs, then your computer goes haywire and freezes up, you lose all that data. So if you lose any data, it's only the last 5 minutes. But that's the only thing I'm concerned about. So I'm okay with losing 5 minutes. I can type it back up again. So those are the 2 things I'd recommend to take a peek at when you choose a signing service. By default, when you open up zipForms for the first time, it will use Authenticide. So I'm using Authenticide, click and save. And then now I'm going to go into my transaction to.
This is automatically connected to zipForms.
Oh yes, it's owned by Lone Wolf, which is now sold off this product to somebody else, but it's built into the ZipLogix program of zipForms. So it makes it easier when people have questions about it, because some agents will contact us and say, I have a problem with DocuSign. It hasn't I've sent the documents over to the client, but they haven't received it yet. And we'll tell you, contact DocuSign for assistance. Whereas if you have a problem with zipForms, doing the same thing, we'd refer you to ZipLogix for assistance. And I was able to print out the help information, and I'll hand that out at the end of the class. But going back to this transaction, as I say, we're going to be using Authenticide to sign these documents. And we're going to click over here in the top. Well, let's click on the right side because we haven't done that yet. E-sign, you're going to see the same thing. The same thing, except this session shows that it was a DocuSign session on this side. We're going to click new. Move this out of the way. Like that. Now, when using Authenticide, I highly recommend that you choose a folder for the signed documents to go in. Now, we created a folder before that just says signed documents. So now all the documents, when we do the signing session, will go into this one folder called signed docs. And then we click create. Now you could have rechanged the name of the signing session if you wanted to, but I left it as is. The layout is totally different, like what we remember from using DocuSign. There's nothing on the left side. On the right side would be everything that's there. The parties, the documents, the tools, etc. In the middle will be the forms, and I'll show you that in just a moment. So the first thing is add participants. So if you add yourself, new, what will happen is that if you do those two, you will be responsible for dragging and dropping all the signing fields, checkboxes, initials. So I recommend don't do that. Let zipForms do the work for you. I would recommend going into the transaction, adding the person from the transaction, because the transaction already knows the role that Charlene has with us with respect to the documents. If there was more than one buyer, then we click all the buyers involved or all the individuals involved that we need to send out the transaction to. If you're going to have more than one individual, I would recommend set a signing order. This is important so that way, if it was Charlene and Alex that were getting the documents, and I chose Charlene as buyer 1 and Alex as buyer 2, I want to make sure that I review everything with Charlotte first. I go over everything, and then after she's done, it's automatically going to send the request over to Alex. And then that way I can be able to communicate to Alex. Okay, Alex, Charlene's done her part. Let's go over this together. Make sure you understand everything you're about to sign and initial. Because I don't want either one of them to sign something that they're not comfortable with or not understanding fully. So set a signing order. And this is really important if you have more than one signer who are using the same email address, especially spouses. They may share the same email address, so you want to make sure that you have sent it to the right individual and they open up the right email. Because if it's Charlene and Alex have the same email address, like a demo showing, and you don't see Alex's, but it has the same email address, Alex may accidentally open up Charlene's email, and vice versa. Charlene may accidentally open up Alex's email. You don't want that to happen. So it's very important that you make sure that you set a signing order if you have more than one signer. But in this case, we just have Charlene. We'll click select. And I'll skip me for right now. I'm just showing you how to do these transactions. Okay, add documents. And so I can be able to pull the documents straight from the transaction. These are the documents from the transaction. If I need to upload more documents, I can from my computer. I can click the add documents from, where's from? Computer, Google Drive, Dropbox, OneDrive, Box, email upload. You can do that. You can pull it from your files if you wanted to. But I'm going to add the RPA, I can't say it right. The RPA agreement. Sorry. Just reviewing this one more time. Okay, and then I'm also going to add the listing of agreement form B. There we go. And I can continue on adding more if I wanted to, but if you have an idea of what, like how to use the program. Now, so I have two documents, that one and that one. The next thing I'm going to do is go to tools on the far right side. Once I go to tools, then I can start doing my work. Like let's say I want to drag this down just a little bit. And I notice, okay, it's already pre-flagged here for my client to sign. And I forgot to check mark the RPA in the very beginning when I was filling it out. Like, oh, well, that's okay. I could mark it up here with the checkbox. Oops, not that. Checkbox. There we go. Right there. So that's already pre-flagged for signatures. And then we keep going, and you're going to review the same thing like we did in the first session. Make sure that everything's, all the I's are dotted, all the T's are crossed, etc. You can go through everything. But if we want to switch to the very last page, then we can either scroll all the way down or we can go to the docs and just click that one. Oops, it's supposed to go that one. There it is. No, that didn't do it. Fine then, you're being evil. There is the document right there. The fictitious document seller listing agreement. So I'm going to now go into tools. I am going to put in the auto date on the top. If I wanted to go, let's say a little bit lower. Lower, there we go. I can do sign here. I can put in, oh, let's see what else we can put in there. Put in the name right here. And then that's, see, and when you do a signature, it automatically populates a date. So I'm gonna drag that date right up there. And if there was anything else I need to put in, like say, a markup text box, and put that right there. I can write in, come on, there we go. Mountain Valley. Okay. And that's it. So I'm okay with this. I filled out that section. The client is going to take care of this section, this section here. And that's pretty much it. Now, the only thing is, if you want to change layouts, I don't play with layouts really. There's options. You could be able to change signatures if you wanted to, signature styles. But the main thing is signers, docs. You've gone over the entire contract, all the contracts, to make sure that everything's flagged correctly for your client to sign. And the last thing you have to do is click next. So when you click next, and this is kind of the weird thing about Authentisign and DocuSign, because Authentisign on the top right was to close, and it said send was on the bottom, whereas Authentisign was next. So hence the reason why I almost clicked close when I was in DocuSign. So just kind of remember that if you flip between the two. If you don't flip between DocuSign and Authentisign, stick with Authentisign. It's free. Just remember to click next. One thing that this has that DocuSign does not, it has an expiration that you can adjust. By default, it's going to be 30 days. But I can make it up until, well, let's say Sunday. And I can remind that person every single day at 11 a.m. to sign their documents. This will automatically do it for me, rather than me getting on the phone with them all the time. Customizing invites, this is even better. This allows me to send a personalized message to the client, documents to review and sign. And I could put a message saying down here, hello, Charlene. Whoops. Please do not sign until I speak to you first, or whatever verbiage you want to use if you want to. I think this is a nice perk to have. So this gives you one last ability to be able to communicate to your client, not to do anything with these documents until you go over it with them. Because you don't want them to open them up, go click, 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 click. Okay, it's set up. Customize invitation, send. Now, if you have a high-speed internet, it takes a little bit for it to go. So just wait for the delay, and it does go eventually. And there it goes. Now, we are now waiting to speak to our client. So we're going to go into her email. And in just a moment, she's going to receive an email saying, please sign the documents. And there it is. Documents to review and sign. You'll see that it says right here, hello, Charlene, please do not sign until I speak to you first. Okay, pretty straightforward. And then I click start signing. And Charlene doesn't have an account. She's not an agent, she's a client. I would recommend to print these out. So in case your client has a question about what their rights are, these will be readily available for you to review them. In fact, I would have you recommend that you go over this on your own to understand it on your own. So that way, if there's a question, you automatically answer the question for your client, because some clients will be like, what does this mean? What does this give me rights to? What does this do for me? So it's important that you go over this first. To know this first and have it readily available. But if they're comfortable with everything, then you click I accept. So the first thing is, here's the form, and then if we click start, it goes to the first spot. So if I were to click this, and then this, the very first field that requires a signature or initials, just like DocuSign, it's going to make you confirm what font style you want. So you can choose this font style. If you don't want this font style, you want something more like that, you can. If she wanted to draw, let's try again. Oh, that's even worse than last time. Okay, you get the idea. It's just ugly. Yeah, I can't do that. It's just ugly. Or if she can upload her signature fields, you can do that, as well as initials, you can do that. But we're going to choose this one. So Charlene likes this one. And then she chooses set signature. Now I'm going to uncheck mark this because I use Charlene all the time for practice sessions. But that is going to be your signing stuff. And if I click here, if you scroll up just a little bit, you'll see that what her signature looked like. Very nice, very elegant. And then there's this one. We're going to purposely skip this one because it'll make it forced to go back to it later. And then we go to this one. So of course, you're not going to be doing what I'm doing. The world's worst video game ever. Just click and click and click and click and no points. But one thing to point out is, do you have an idea how far along she is? She has 59% done, 16 out of 27 completed. So that's what I like about it. So in case because in your real world situation, they're going to be like, how long is this going to go? Well, what does it say on the top? Like, oh, it's 63%. Okay, so you're more than halfway done. So that way they understand, it's like, okay, we're almost done or we're halfway done. Now this portion right here, this was an optional field. So this is what I love better than DocuSign. This really spells it out. Is it going to be accepted by the client? Is it going to be declined or canceled for further review with the agent? So if the client says yes on that, just like in the first session, they click it. But if they say no, they actually have to do some kind of something to determine if it is really a no. Because how do you know if it was really a no in their first DocuSign session? They may have skipped it accidentally. In this one, it verifies that that they do not want this, because it's an optional field. And then you keep them going on. We're almost done. We're at 81%. And there we go. This is the fictitious document that we put together. See, we put in the date right there. And then we put in Fountain Valley right there. And then date, name, boom. And then it went back to the spot, says, hey, you forgot this spot. Like, okay, Leo, thanks. Or, okay, Charlene. And that's it. Now she could print if she wants to. She can give a review of this session. I would just say, it's fine, you're done. You don't have to worry about anything further. All you have to do is just simply close your session. Because in the next email that Charlene's going to receive is going to be, these are your completed documents. After everyone has signed the documents, it will go to her saying signing complete. She could download a copy of the signed documents as well as the signing certificate. Both sessions, the DocuSign and AuthentiSign, will have a signing certificate. That's your proof that the client has indeed agreed to electronic signatures and has done it. You never want to dump the signing certificates in either case. And here's still 2 links for the client to be able to download those forms. If you want to see what it looks like, okay, well, no problem. I just click it. And there it is. So we can get at each page if you wanted to. Let me just go page by page. I know you're going to fall asleep if I go page by page, but see, there's everything there that they completed. Oh, there's their initials right up here.
Let me see the
Oh, this is in the email that Charlene received.
Oh,
Charlene's received this email, and she can review it if she wants to. This is a finalized document, which she can print and copy for her records. But you as an agent using zipForms, you're gonna have it stored in zipForms for 7 years. So in case it ever has to be reviewed, it's there for 7 years. And then at close to 7 years is when you want to start considering moving to somewhere else in a secured area, encrypted, so that way no one accesses it as well, because this is personal information of that client. So that's it. All right, so this is a beautiful session of how a client would see it, but how does it look on your end when you're finished with it? Oh, I got an ad of some sort. Okay. So minimizing. So we go into transactions. We're still in the documents. We go out of it. And then we go into signed documents. And we'll see, now we see the PDFs. Authentisign for the RPA and Authentisign for listing agreement form B has their icon there. And it shows that indeed, yes, my client did sign right over there with a fancy schmancy font style, her name, and the date. And that's it. That's how you sign in 2 different ways, using DocuSign and Authentisign. So from what you've seen, is it a big deal between the two, between Authentisign and DocuSign? Is it a really big deal? Okay. One's free, the other one's not free. True. Now, for a lot of agents, it's a no-brainer. For some, their employer says you have to use DocuSign. Well, if you use it, if you're required to use it and pay for it, then there it is. If you like the flexibility to use a different format rather than just the PDFs, then you can use DocuSign. But rarely will you run into a case in zipForms where it's going to be different than a PDF. But if you do, you can use a DocuSign account. Authentisign just strictly looks at PDFs as far as we know. But any questions about this so far? Yes, please.
Really,
Yes. Yes. And you can, when you drag and drop, well, when you take a look at where those fields are at, you can expand the size of it if you wanted to. Because a lot of this, but then all of a sudden you may have that signature run into some of the wording around it. So you may not want to do that. Any other questions regarding either signing session, DocuSign, or Authentisign? Keep having to stumble with that one for some reason.
How you would collaborate, how we can progress.
So do you use the brokerage edition through okay, so if you use the brokerage edition, then you're required to stick with the Keller Williams brokerage edition.
So that's how I get the.
Well, this is the great. Well, the great majority of the agents who don't use the brokerage edition just simply go into car.org and log in by creating a user ID and password. But there will be some agents, maybe like yourself, that have to use a brokerage edition in order to access the zipForms. Be mindful that when you go into zipForms, if you were to leave Keller Williams, if they had been in the process of using a brokerage edition and said, use your individual account, you would then go into the CAR website. You're going to click where it says Realtor Secured Transaction. Transactions, the biggest circle to the left of that person sitting in that chair, which could be you if you want to submit an application. And after clicking this, you would simply just choose the very first benefit, Access Now. And then you would click here in the bottom where it says Validating Membership. And then you would go into zipForms. That's if you want to do it that way. But using a brokerage edition, you have to stay, I think you have to stay with Keller Williams brokerage edition. But also be mindful that all your transactions, all your contacts that are within zipForms are going to stay in there. So if you ever move out of Keller Williams, then you're going to lose all those transactions. So just give you a heads up on that, because it stays with that. unless you were to export it to a different file and retrieve it on a different way of doing that. You had a question?
Sometimes the middle of transaction, you are entering some item. You forget about something, you want to go back to your email and everything goes away, you have to sign again. How can you keep it on?
So everything that is signed,
No, not sign. Say for
just an
example,
email that was sent to you.
I'm writing an offer.
Mhm.
I forgot the address. I have to go back to my email to get the address. I have to minimize this. When I come back, it is gone. I have to sign in.
That could be a case where CAR is signing you out. You just have to log back in because in the first class, CAR signed me out of the session twice.
No,
Or it could be that you're using the desktop version.
no. System, I went to zipForm, I remember, and then I searched in one of YouTube, it says what you should do, but I forgot. I had not find it again. It said just use a comma, something like that, or semicolon, something like that, but I don't remember what was that. I tried to find it again, but I can't find it.
We could schedule a one-on-one with you and go through that together. Because we do offer one-on-ones, by the way. I don't know if you knew that. With the one-on-ones, we could either do it via webinar, or if it's convenient for both parties to meet at the office, like here or Laguna Hills. And we can try to see if we can duplicate that to see where the error is occurring. Anthony, are you still there? Sometimes he steps away for a
Yes.
moment. So if I understand you correctly, it was when you're in the middle of a transaction and she has forgotten, let's say, the address, and she has to retrieve the information from an email because for whatever reason we forgot to put in the address at the very beginning.
What do
We
you
have
mean
to-
by got the address?
We forgot so we're going to the email to retrieve the address for the transaction. We're trying to copy that and putting it into the RPA, and she doesn't have access to go back into the RPA because I'm guessing CAR signs her out, or she has to you have to log back into CAR to have access to zipForms.
Then I really like it to go to my email
Okay.
and come back and enter whatever I want. I have to enter, I have to sign in again, but it kicks me out.
So I'm not understanding. Why doesn't she have access to her transaction?
Well, I don't, that's the question I have too, is like, why would she not have access to a transaction that she started? Because it should show up in zipForms as one of the tiles. And she should be able to see it and just go back in to make the changes that she should.
Yes. You should be
that
able to
I
do that unless one of two things. Either she belonged to an office like Berkshire Hathaway, where they used the broker edition, and they suspended her after she left the company. Because the broker edition, you have a separate account with that brokerage, and you would not have access to any prior transactions if you left the company.
Okay, so this
So
scenario
is that the case
working,
here? You were
no. The scenario is she's working on a transaction at the moment. She minimizes it, opens up a new tab to open up the email, to look for the email of the right address, gets the address and tries to go back into the transaction, and it disappears. So she has to go back into CAR to log back into it.
Well, if it minimized, then are you on a Mac or a PC?
Are you on a Mac or PC?
Mac.
A Mac.
Are you using Safari or Google Chrome?
Google Chrome.
Okay. And you should be able to see at the bottom right corner of your computer screen and see what that, what windows you have open. That should
I
help
think
you.
I think a gooder solution. Hey, a gooder solution.
A better
Be
solution?
a gooder solution. A better solution would probably just be having us do a one-on-one with you to figure out what you're
That
seeing.
or
We can
contact
share the screen.
CAR
Yes.
or, but yeah, if you do a one-on-one with us, we'll be more than happy to do a Zoom meeting with you and we can see what you're seeing.
Yes. And I'll give you our information too before we go.
Okay, so much.
Because it's kind of like we're kind of guessing it, like because it's a very weird.
Yeah, without seeing it,
scenario.
we can't tell.
Yeah. Okay, but I'll hand you that information afterwards. Anybody else with questions? Because it's 2:00. Okay, so the advantage of or the difference is using the broker edition for zipForms versus going through on your own is that your broker kind of governs what forms you need to do a transaction. Your broker says, these are the forms I want for every offer, every rental, every listing. They'll provide you that information.
On top of being able to control and look at every transaction that you and other agents within their office are creating, they can go in and approve it. They can even mark that you can't send it out for signatures until they approve it. So they have a lot of power under the broker edition.
Yes. So that's kind of a good thing as an overview for the broker to say, I see you in this process. Perhaps we need a transaction coordinator to be able to assist you and get this completed, or a mentor to be able to finish this up. Or let's discuss this one document that you've included here and what was written in here. That's one of the nice advantages. If you were a broker, you could have that broker edition, just like I want to make sure that my agents are doing it the right way. Yeah. Because now a lot of the oversight is by the broker and making sure that, hey, you're doing it the way that I want you to do it, rather than you saying, I think these are the right forms to use. Because in the first class, we figured out Forms Advisor is no longer going to be available. It's going to be a suggestive built-in machine language available through zipForms, which is different. So artificial intelligence. So interesting. Anything else from anyone? Yes. The great majority of the classes that we offer are free. Some you actually have to go each one to figure out which one has a fee or not. So when you register, it'll tell you how much it'll be to sign up for the class. Correct. It would not be on the flyer. We're just advertising what classes are available. Yes. So it'll show you, and you won't be surprised. You'll be like, because the great majority are free. They don't count as CE credits to your renewing of your real estate license, because most agents can take advantage of the CAR, which offers the Learn and Thrive that gives you free renewal materials to study for, and then you can be able to do the testing. Yeah, a lot of agents in the beginning will say, I'm going to save my marketing dollars. I'm going to take the free courses that are offered by the board or CAR or whomever, and then I could be able to use that marketing dollars to make sure that people know who I am, and so that I can take care of more clients and pay for gas. Anything else for anybody? How about Anthony? You got a suggestion on a digital signing service?
Yeah.
I think we're good.
I love Sign just because it's free. So if you are on a tight budget like myself and Leo, and let's take advantage of your free stuff where you can. Because as you all saw, Sign is pretty easy and user friendly. Why pay 200 and some odd dollars a year for something that you could do for free and is included already in your membership?
It's still very true. Now, if you want a refresher on any of this, yeah, we're going to send you information about it. But if you want information, additional information about some of our classes that we've offered for digital signing, you can look at our website, ocrealtors.org, look for the drop-down menu of, let me move this out of the way, move that up there. Drop-down menu of education, choose a video library, and then you will choose zipForms. And one of the classes that myself and Anthony have taught will be, sure enough, a signing class. There it is, right there. And then you get to hear my lovely voice. Oh, like nails scratching on a chalkboard. You can listen to that if you want to, or any one of the classes that we've taught in the past.
Even today's class,
Today's class is being recorded, but we're going to more than likely send you the link tomorrow, because the last class ends at 5 o'clock and we have to leave by 5 o'clock. But I'll try to get people out by 30 minutes before. So that'll be the class for 1 hour. This is really weird. The next class will be starting at 3 o'clock. And like I said, I'll try to get you done by 4:30. But did you have anything else? Otherwise, we could just end the class now and then have you stretch out, relax, get a bite to eat down the street if you want to, and then come right back.
Hey, Leo, did you go over how to digitally sign a TDS or an SPQ?
No, that would use probably the share function to do that, because I could show
Well, you
that.
could, but there's
That's one of my tools I'm going to show in the next class.
signatures immediately, but allow the seller to fill out the TDS and or SPQ or the ESE.
Okay, so I'm going to do a show of hands because I like democracy. So if you want me to share this tool called share, but we're going to use a TDS SPQ.
No, not the share function, Leo.
No?
No, just show how you can upload, like you can send out the TDS or SPQ through Authentisign
Yes.
and or digital ink, and the areas for seller one are automatically placed for them to be able to fill out and sign immediately. Like, just show like during the setup. Because
Okay.
not everybody knows that you can send those documents out to your sellers for them to fill out. By the way, does everybody know what a TDS and SPQ stand for?
TDS and an SPQ. Does anyone know what that stands for? Does anybody know what a TDS stands for? A lot of voices are saying a transfer disclosure. How about SPQ?
Good. So
Seller property questionnaire, yes.
That form can't be filled out, right, by you, the agent. It has to be filled out by the client. So an easy way to do that is through your Authentisign or digital ink, whereby you can send it out, and those areas where they would fill out are automatically pre-placed in this form, as Leo's demonstrating currently.
So here's an example of the TDS form. So you'll see that there's areas that are blue that you can click, that you can be able to alter a little bit. The areas that are here, you won't be able to do anything because it says editable by seller one. And see, anything I click here, I can't do anything to it. It has to be seller one. So if those of you who are familiar with TDSs and SPQs, you've run into this problem in the past. But I just want to make sure that we want to make sure that you're familiar with what can be altered and what cannot be altered when using certain contracts. Somebody had a question? So we're going to go and showing you how to make this a little bit easier for you to complete with your client using a share function.
No.
Because, yeah,
Authentisign.
using a Authentisign.
Yes.
Not the share function, you say?
Correct. That'll be for your next class.
Okay, we'll do
You can send this document out for Authentisign, and those areas that are pink are able to be filled out through Authentisign by the client, which is different than share. To share, you can't sign as you're filling it out.
True. True. So if we had a seller in this transaction, which we don't, if we had a seller in this transaction, they would complete all those fields there. Whether this property has a built-in barbecue, a gazebo, a security guard, a security gate, I should say, water supply, gas supply, etc. So they would complete this section right there at the same time they're doing the signing service. But yeah, we could do that. We could do that. This transaction does not have a seller. So we're going to use RPR in the next class to create a seller. And we're going to use that to do a TDS and an SPQ. Gosh, I feel like I'm looking up and talking to God right now sometimes. Your ego just went up 10 points, Anthony.
No, it's not my ego. It's just that, if you don't do the share, then just know that you can send it out for digital signatures, and it allows seller one, whoever that is, to not only sign this document, but also fill in all the areas that they need to fill in.
Okay. Yeah, we'll practice with that after we create a transaction using RPR. So
Perfect.
exciting. So exciting. We'll do that. I guess that's pretty much it for right now. So I know it's like I cheated you for a good 50 minutes, unless you want to talk about different topics within zipForms. We have if you were to exit this office, we have restrooms on the left-hand side for women, right-hand side for men. We have a lounge behind this wall to relax if you want to catch up on emails and such. We have water right over here. We'll take advantage of some hot tea. It's delicious. It's cold now.
Is it possible you send, for example, to me, the first person which I was talking about?
Yes, we can. We can send you the session. So basically, anyone who's attended any of the classes today, I'm going to do it to all of them. All of them, because honestly, everyone who has had, maybe you had responsibility to take care of another client in the morning, that's fine. We can be able to do so. That's fine. You're welcome. But with that, I guess that we can stop the recording. I'll stop the share. And that's it for now. So we'll catch up at a few minutes before 3 o'clock, Anthony, okay?
Sounds good. Thank
All
you,
right.
everybody.
All right.
Thank you, Leo.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.